Wait, Medri.
Make a mess in the room. All I can smell is you. The sweet smell of your perfume. Girl, it was a wild night. I've had flashbacks of the night. I know you got your 9 to 5, but won't you call out and take me back in time? I just wanna relive the moment, those moments when I had your mouth wide open. Girl, I've been begging for that juicy fruit, and you provided pleasure. Alright, and I think it's time I got a second serving of you.
What if you did? What would your life be? You know? What if we could break generational curses? What if my movie, and I'm speaking it in existence,
Speak it.
as the prophet told me, what if my movie, you take all the people, 5, 6, 7, whatever, and they sit down and watch everything that happened to me, and it changes their thought process.
Hey, is it hard?
Welcome to another episode of Breaking the Silence with Arthur, Nick, and Nicole, where you can unleash your inner voice. So listen, guys, season 4 has been an amazing season. When I say amazing season, with some amazing people. And we're ending this season out with a bang with Jah Prester. He is an artist that has been singing literally since he was a child, and he wants to create new avenues in the music industry. So I'm excited about having this conversation with him today to find out exactly how his journey began. So after the countdown, please welcome him to the Breaking the Silence platform.
It's too bad cause you don't pick me up. You won't answer my calls. Guess it wasn't real after all. You've been in and out my mind. I can't stop running through my mind. I can't stop, you're still racing through my mind. Girl, you're gonna kill the vibe. She don't know how much you mean to me.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Thank you so much for being a guest today. I'm excited about having this interview today to find out how you gonna change the world. Because when I read that bio, I was like, he gonna change the world with his sound.
Yeah. I've always been a person with big dreams and great ambitions. So for me, that's the goal, to always change something, to be monumental.
Absolutely. So how did your music journey start?
Honestly, I was much like almost majority of artists where I heard something, I liked it, tried it, somebody heard me and was like, yo, you sound good. And then after I just kept doing it. It was actually I I'm from New York, and as a kid, my cousin in the Bronx, she used to take care of us and watch us, and her daughters were there. Her daughters, were 15, 16 and such around the time. And many people don't know about it now, but we had 106 in Park, and we had Music Choice and everything else. So they were playing songs, and first person that I can remember specifically for me was Chris Brown. And I would always try to sing like him, dance like him. And then after, what really made me want to just make it a career, or like it just became a passion for me, when my cousin actually put me on a Michael Jackson. And I initially saw the video, and he was performing Another Part of Me. But it was it wasn't his first time performing it. I think believe it might have been his second or third. It was on one of his tours, and I'm like, "Yo, who's this white lady?" And she's like, "Lady, that's Michael Jackson." I'm like, "Michael's a boy's name." They're like, "No, that's a boy." And then I'm like, "Okay, interesting." Fast forward, I seen Thriller, and I'm like, "That sounds like the Michael Jackson guy, but it don't look like Michael Jackson." And then that's when I started doing my research, and when I started doing my research, I started just falling in love with just his artistry and the way he crafted just music and the way he, you know, changed it. He revolutionized the music industry monumentally, and it became one of those things where it was like, I want to do that too. I want to do what he did, but I'm going to take it further because I understood very early on that my generation was going to be the generation that changed things, whether it be good or bad, and I wanted to be a part of the good side, and at least the entertaining and the happy and the positive side of it.
Right. I love it. You said 106 in part.
Yep.
Man.
I just dated myself.
Yes, you did, because those were the good times, 106 in Park now.
I said it was.
So what do you hope that listeners can take away from your music?
Um, Comfort. I want everybody to feel comfortable to be able to listen to it. I as a man, especially in growing up in Gen Z, one of the things that we, as a black man especially, it's they try to keep you from being vulnerable. It's like they want to try to find a reason to make you the angry black man or be angry about something or to be destructive. And for me personally, I feel that's the complete opposite of what we are. I think it's, some people don't know how to react to certain things. They don't know how to express themselves in certain ways, especially when it comes to romance sometimes. And being that R&B is generally speaking the romantic genre, I decided to be the person who gets vulnerable. I'll be vulnerable, and y'all can just listen to it and y'all can have that relatability and say, "Yo, I feel you too," kind of thing.
But you know what? I said that, what do people fall in love to now? Because back in the day, it was that type of music,
Yeah,
to fall in love. So,
yeah.
I mean, now it's like, sex, violence, it's no real music like it used to be.
So I agree. I'm actually amongst my group of friends, I'm the old head where I'll listen to I'll listen to the Commodores. I'll go from them to down all the way to Michael, James Brown. I'll do Frankie Beverly. I'll do all of those, but I also listen to the newer artists of my generation as well, from the Summer Walkers, the Chris Browns, the Drakes and such. And for me, I think I've always found a healthy balance between the two. I learned that, especially through studying it, because the thing is, people don't realize that, you know, the difference between just doing something and studying it means when you study it, it's something that can't go away and it only improves. When you're just doing something, you're just doing it up until it doesn't work anymore and you find the next big thing. And through studies, it was the 80s, 90s, 70s. They were able to be vulnerable. You could be vulnerable. You could have fun about being vulnerable. It wasn't something that was frowned upon the same way it is now. And with now, we have better technology and access to different types of sounds. So mixing the two together, you get me essentially.
So what challenges have you faced as an artist, and how have you overcome them? Because, streaming is like 1 cent, you know, that's no money.
Yeah. For me, I think it's more so marketing. I'm not an amazing marketer. So when it comes to advertising, it's one of those things where I struggle. I'm not a person who's on my phone on social media to really think about selling myself. So for me, majority of the time when I'm on social media, I'm on it, then I get off. And it became something that I needed to work on and learn, essentially to view myself not only as a person and view things for my own pleasure, but I'm also a brand. Like I'm pitching myself to people. So I'm mindful about what I post. I'm mindful about what I say. I'm mindful about what I do, who I follow, and such. So, that's the part that's been the most challenging for me.
Well, see, I think it makes things harder because for artists to be authentic because of the trends. If you say something crazy, then all of a sudden you're viral.
Yeah. And for some people it works. For some people that's kind of their goal to go viral so then they can use it against, they can switch the narrative after. But sometimes there's things you just can't come back from. And me, I like to play it safer in that regard, so I don't go ahead and just say something outlandish for no reason. When it comes to, like, for example, some people like to talk about their political views openly, and it makes no sense for you to do. People like to speak on the way they feel society should work. I'm a person who's like, everybody's gonna do what they want to do, regardless. As long as you don't hurt nobody, I don't care. You know, it's things like that that make it very challenging, as you said. But I think if you know how to mind your business and just move with positivity, then you're always gonna be good.
Absolutely. I agree. Absolutely. So we're gonna get into your one of your first songs, Go Back in Time. We're gonna give a snippet.
Wait, Medri.
Make a mess in your room. All I can smell is you. The sweet smell of your perfume. Girl, it was a wild night. I've had flashbacks of the night. I know you got your 9 to 5, but won't you call out and take me back in time? I just wanna relive the moment, those moments when I had your mouth wide open. Girl, I've been begging for that juicy fruit, and you provided pleasure. Alright, and I think it's time I got a second serving of you.
You got a voice on you. You hear me?
Thank you.
So what was the story behind that song? Take me back to the creative process of that song.
So, actually, this is one of the few songs that I plan to show off where has more of a sexual content to it. However, I had listened. Usher just came out with a song. It was called Glue, and I like the fact that he utilized high notes and falsettos. So I wanted to just experiment with it, and all my songs are either about my experience or an experience that was shared to me. So, and I've always asked for permission to be able to use those shared experiences. And this one specifically is about me, where essentially, it's that one. It's when there's that one person that you've done a lot with and that you've been with very intimately in very intimate settings, and it's one of those things where it's one of those moments where you say, I wish this lasts forever, kind of thing. And if it's and specifically this, which is geared to that intimate moment, but it was like, she's my favorite, I want to stay with her, I don't want to go nowhere else, I just want, like, we could do this a million times over, like, let's just be here specifically. So I just kind of glorified it a bit more, made it, took a concept of, hey, let's do this again and again and again. Okay, go back in time. Cool. In my head, I'm like, all right, cool. We could do, a vibe like Remember the Time, where it's, all right, cool. Let's, go back in time, talk about time. Let's do this again. I want to come back over here again. Put in, hours, seconds, minutes, just thinking of it as something that can be replayed, kind of thing. So when I wrote it, had to be like 3 a.m. Woke up off a nap, heard the beat. I was like, okay, cool. I'm right to it. Wrote to it. Then recorded it almost immediately right after because I really liked it and I really enjoyed it. And when I got it done, And then I sent it over to my engineer. I was like, hey, let's try to get this done. I need this on the on the project. And he was like, all right, cool. Made it work. And to this day, thank you so much because that's one of my favorite songs off of it.
Nice. Love it. Wow. So I always ask every artist this question because to me, the beat matters.
Yeah.
But I get different feedback when I ask, do you think the lyrics or the beat matter when it comes to the song? Which is
Um,
more powerful?
I naturally, probably in the past, would have said the lyrics, but now I'm unsure. And the reason why I'm unsure is because, as I've said, my inspirations are mostly Michael Jackson, Chris Brown, and Aaliyah. So with that being said, all of those things play a significant role. Michael made sure every piece fit. Like it needed to be perfect. He was a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist, but I also understand where I'm at. Michael had millions of dollars to sit there and make sure something was perfect. I'm working off of a couple hundred, couple thousand, trying to make something perfect. We don't have the same budget. I could get us close to perfect, but I'm not going to get perfect. And that's fine. Chris Brown is, I want to be unique. So I want my sound to sound different from somebody else's. You could say it pays homage to it. You could say it sounds similar, but I want it to be my own. And for Aaliyah, it was more like, I like it. This is something I like. I don't care about what everybody else is saying. I don't care what they think of it. As long as I like it, that means I can transform it into something that, other people may like. And whoever doesn't, forget them. Who cares? So it's hard for me to really choose. I do spend more time on my lyrics to make sure that they fit my personal sentiment. So I guess, long story short, I guess I'll say lyrics, but I'm not 100%.
Well, I would hands down say lyrics, but when I listen to a song, the beat hits me my ears first.
Yeah.
So if I hear the beat and it's a good beat, then I can listen to that on repeat because now the lyrics gonna eventually come to me. I'm gonna hear the lyrics, but that beat is gonna keep me playing that song.
Yes. That is true as well. Which is why it's so hard for me to choose because if you do a good beat but horrible lyrics, I'm not gonna want to listen to that song, but I'm not gonna be able to get past maybe the first part before you start talking and maybe the ending of when you stop talking. But when it just has to mesh together perfectly. It all
Yes.
comes into a harmony.
Yes, absolutely. It has to. Now you're setting your bars high because you're saying Michael Jackson, Chris
Yeah,
Brown, and
yeah,
Aaliyah.
yeah.
I love Michael Jackson. I love him. Like he was my all-time favorite, like from childhood to now. I
Yeah.
still think he was the best when it came down to music. But you're setting your bar high.
Yes, I am.
But I
I'm about to
think
say.
that you're doing it though because your voice is unique to me. When I heard those songs, I was like, wait a minute. I
I
had to
try
play
to
it
be.
again.
Yeah, I try to be. It's one of those things where it was something that actually T Pain said, and he was on his one of his lives. He was streaming, and he essentially went through and said, there's someone, there's an artist for everyone. When there's one person who likes it, that means there's five other people who do. Five people can turn to 10, 10 turns to hundreds, hundreds turns to thousands, and you keep going. You just need to find your group, the people who enjoy your music. Because, for example, like I'm not a big fan of rock music. There's some people I can listen to, but majority of them it's just not for me. However, there's a huge rock fan base somewhere. Those people found their audience. Just like R&B, hip hop, rap, and such found me, and I'm part of that audience. Just gotta find my audience, and I knew, for me, I knew my vocals were different compared to other people because for me, I don't have any form of um, vocal training per se, like any professional vocal training anyway. I've done things where for me it's more of mimicry, where it's like, all right, cool. I heard Michael do it, so now I want to try it. and I'll try it as up until the point where I feel like I got it right for me, where it fits my voice, it fits my comfort, where I'm not straining myself, I'm not doing too much, it's not hurting to do. And same thing with Chris, and same thing with Aaliyah. So for me, um, that's when I learned my voice was unique, and the concepts that I would talk about, I wanted to always make sure they were real. Like it was something that was real enough where just because I'm saying it happened to me, somebody next to me or next door could sit there and say, "Yo, I had that same experience, 5 years ago, a couple months ago, yesterday, and such." So that's how I tried to keep myself unique and fresh.
Love it. So we're gonna get into your next song, something about you.
I've been patiently waiting, wanna see your pussy in my face and keep me drowning. I survive. I just wanna taste this timeless. I'm lovesick, hopeless, romantic. I'm so lovesick, but you make me feel better, brand new. Maybe one-sided, but I just want you. The taste of you, sweet smell of perfume. Girl, you're the key. All I need from you, I'm a fiend. Bad pussy dripping, spinning all over me. I got time, I'ma take my time. Won't lose this focus. My focus on you, your body. Got something special about you. I can't get enough. Keep me running back and forth. There's something about you. There's something about you.
No, I like that song.
That's one of my favorite ones too, as well.
Take me back into the creative process for that song.
So for that song, I would say that was back in about 2020, 2021. And for me, that was actually, I would say, the first difficult song I've ever done at that point. For me, it was difficult because it was a new beat that I was trying. I was in a difficult space where I I recently at that point not only went through a breakup, but it was COVID. So some people came and go, and I also had my first engineer left, so I had to get a new one. And this is probably the second song I did with my new engineer, and it was something that I felt like I was learning at the same time. I was still very much early into the recording process, so I was in the studio, and I remember I sat there for an hour just to get the first part out, just to get the first verse properly. Sat there, I had a friend with me. He was like, "Yo, that one sounded good." I'm like, "Nah, it didn't hit the way I wanted it to." And I sat there for an hour and made sure I kept going up until I made it. When I got there, everything went smoothly. And at that moment, I wasn't discouraged. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bothered. I was having fun doing it. And that's when, it was one of those things where it's like, cool. This is the first song that I felt like I know what I want my sound to be, where I want to be, and who I want to be in it, in the music industry. So, and when I wrote it, it was more the idea of, something about you, pretty self explanatory, where there's something about this person that draws me to them, and with the project that it came out on being Love and Lust is playing with the idea of, is this love or is this lust? I specifically mentioned, very, very intimate, actions with a lot of vulgar words. However, that's, how I speak with my friends and such. But there's still a sense of compassion in my vocals as I'm singing it. So it's like the words may be vocal, but the message that's delivered is different. It's not a, aggressive tone. It's a soft, passionate, like I'm using my vulgar words, but I'm admiring something. Like there's something here that's very gentle and loving, and it's just, a presentation that most people don't get to feel.
That's true. So when you write,
Mm.
like I'm an author, I've written books on top of books, but do you have to be in a certain setting to, or do you hear the song and you're like, you know what, boom, I got it?
Generally speaking, it's more like boom, I got it. When I listen to a beat, I think about what it makes me feel first, and then after I go through and I kind of figure out if I want to stick to that subject or if there's another feeling that I get. And depending on what it is, if especially like let's say there's a beat that I'm stuck on and that I can't catch a feeling for, I'll send it to a friend or something, be like, yo, what kind of emotion you get from this? Like, what does it make you think about? And they'll tell me what it is, and from there, I'll come up with something off of that. Generally speaking, in my head, I'll have words that jump in, I'll, put them down, and I like to say it's miraculous personally because I never really understand it, but I have almost a full verse down in the next 10, 15 minutes, and it's like, all right, cool, I have my verse. Now it's time to sit there and come up with this pre-chorus and chorus and see where the story goes from here. And sometimes there are songs that I enjoy. Sometimes it's songs that I'm like, could have did better, but you know what? That's what I was feeling in that moment. And then when I come back to it, if I come back to it, if I feel like some things need to change, it'll change. If not, leave it as it is.
Feel that. So if there was one thing that you can change about the music industry, what would you change?
Well, this is gonna be a hot take. I think it's the fact that some people don't belong in it. Some people I think lack talent. I think they just talk and they say something because they know, like we said earlier, it's gonna go viral. And past that one viral moment, you get your next two, three songs, and then you're done. There's nothing else for you until you realize where you want to grow. And I think Andre 3000 actually said this in an interview where he was talking to somebody. I can't remember who he was with on the interview. He was with another artist, a female artist specifically. And he was describing how a lot of them sound the same. And how a lot of artists nowadays sound the same because we all have inspirations. Maya, Michael Jackson, Chris Brown, Aaliyah. And in the beginning, we copy them because that's what we like until we figure out who we want to be. And I think a lot of people don't figure out who they want to be prior to them getting into it. And I don't think labels give them time for that because they're going in for the quick cash grab. I can make my money here. This person's famous here. People like listening to him and take him and keep going. Back then, they were looking for people who were original. It took you 3, 4, 5 years most times to get famous. And even before you even got put in front of a stage or in front of people, under a major label, they would sit there and have you go through a bunch of training. They would have you run through almost 100 and plus songs before you even decided what songs were going to be on your album or what was going to be the first single. Just you get locked in the studio for a week, just recording for hours, and didn't matter if you were young, old, whatever it was. They made sure that you dedicated your time into figuring out what kind of artist you wanted to be and who you wanted to be. We don't have that anymore. TikTok and social media kind of take that away. And based off the personality that people liked while you were on social media is what most record labels just go with. That's how you end up with people who end up going to jail as soon as they start. That's how you end up with people who, are one trick ponies, and then when people are tired of listening to them, they don't get no money anymore until they do maybe that one big feature, and it requires a feature for you to sit there and be relevant again. You got to do something viral, and that's just the generation that we live in now.
But it's funny you say that because, like the Temptations, for example,
Yeah.
you did have to be locked in the studio for hours at a time until they felt like it was a hit. You know what I'm saying? You went from song to song, then they would vote on it, and then if it wasn't a hit, then they threw it out. But now it's so oversaturated, and you had to be unique back then. So you had to have that sound in order for you to get to that next level. Because you think about it, the Temptations, was it Otis? Not Otis, the guy, Lord, Blue. Blue had a very unique voice because he had that deep voice. Nobody could sound like that. So you're right. Now everybody is sounding the same. So it's hard for you to like set yourself apart. So how do you set yourself apart by other than trying to be more like a blend of Chris Brown and Michael Jackson and Aaliyah, which that's going to be fire. But other than that, how do you set yourself apart?
I choose to be myself. I think that's another problem that some people tend to have. So, for example, like Sexy Red, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm the biggest fan of Sexy Red or anything like that. But she's original in terms of she's just herself. Where the things she could say are vulgar, the things she could do are out of pocket and probably and well not probably are not okay with social norms to a certain extent, but she's being herself. This is who she is. So when you go through and you're doing whatever you would have did with or without the label, it makes you stand out a bit more compared to everybody else. I take the blend and I blend it together when it comes to the way I form, my artistry or the way I create my projects or the way I put things together. However, that the context and the substance that are in these songs are me. These aren't, oh, what would Chris Brown do or what would Michael Jackson do or what would Aaliyah do? It's what I would do. It's what I want to say. If I want to say this, then I'm going to say it. I don't have the same experience as Michael Jackson, Chris Brown, or Aaliyah for me to go ahead and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna write a song about having 7 different Lamborghinis. I can't. I don't have them. But any song where I do put it in there, I'm saying I will have it. Or if it's kind of one of those things where it's not my experience. I'm speaking on somebody else who told me that this is something that they're going through, that they got. And I will always 100% sit there and go, yo, yeah, nah, that's my friend over there. He got that. Not me. Don't look over here for that.
But you know what? People are not putting out albums like back in the day. They put out albums, and those albums were good. Like every song you hit, you can just ride and play, and it was a good song. But now they're putting out EPs or singles. I get it
Well,
because with the singles, of course, it's gonna save you money as an artist. But the EPs help you build the album, I think. What is your take on that?
I agree. I actually, the way I plan my projects out and the way I maneuver through everything, for me, my EP is me giving my audience the teaser for what I want to jump into. So, for example, over here, strictly R&B. Strictly R&B. There's no real hip hop influences on there, as you can see, but that means the project that I will be releasing next will stick to that area. The project after that will give you a couple, maybe a few things that I wanted to try that I didn't feel like I was ready to try before. And then, I'll possibly give out like an EP after that to show you the full extent of like, all right, cool. I took some hip hop here. I took some pop here. I took some Afro beats here. Now, in this EP is gonna be just a bunch of it, and you tell me whether you want to hear more of this. I give you one, two, three over here. Now you got a bunch over here, and you can tell me whether you like it, whether you love it, whether you hate it. If you don't want to hear me do music at all, like it's one of those things where it's give your audience the opportunity to see what they like, say what they like, and then from there kind of just follow the trend. And it's something that, like I said, I study my favorite artists often, very often. And Michael already had his sound. He was, that, new jack, swing, and the disco at the time early on. That was him. When you got past Thriller, Thriller dabbled a little bit more into the, pop and R&B fusion to a certain extent. But once you got to, the Bad album, you got, a bit more. Thriller, they gave you Beat It, which implemented a bit of rock and roll. From there, he went on Bad, and now you're getting songs with a little bit more heavy rock and roll, Dirty Dianas and such. You don't get that without throwing it out there, testing it first, and then keep going. Because the moment somebody says, "Oh, I don't like this," and but you're just oversaturating them with something that they don't even know they're gonna want yet, or you don't even know what you're gonna want, you just took up a bunch of space on your track list that could have been used for the other songs that you knew would have worked out for your audience. Because at the end of the day, the music is for you, but it's also for the audience too. And you just gotta remember that there's songs that you like, but there's also songs that they're gonna like. And it's a business at the end of the day. You gotta sit there and you gotta put in that level of thought. Add in your one or two songs that you enjoyed. For me, on this Love and Lust, I added one song that I knew was my personal favorite that wasn't going to follow the main basis. Like the substance of the song matched the energy and the subject, but it was different from the other ones. But it sounded well. So because it sounded well, I made sure that all right, cool, this is my personal pick that I'll put in here. And the bigger your album or EP or mixtape is, you get to add a few more. But make sure majority of it is just audience, something your audience will love.
Right. So if you had to describe your music to someone that's never heard it before, what would you say to them in order to get them to listen to it?
I would say if you enjoy if you enjoy romance, if you enjoy relatability, if you enjoy feeling comfortable, if you enjoy being vulnerable, and if you enjoy just art, then you'll enjoy my music. You'll get a good mixture of storytelling where you can put yourself in the same position that I was. It's descriptive enough. It's you know, there's enough dialogue in there for you to go ahead and say, this is something I could say or something I could hear being said to me. And, also just the way things come together, that's just the artistry in itself. It's just what made you like the idea of, yo, how did you even think to do that like that? Like when I heard this, like if you heard the instrumental, you probably wouldn't be able to do it. And it's like only he could do that kind of thing, and like I said, romance, it's R&B. Romance is a big part of R&B, and it's that love portion that I feel like we're missing out on, especially from male artists. And being from New York, that's not something that you're going to hear too often. It's a very, very raw and rugged city. So it's like everybody's rappers or trying to be some form of like, make gangster music in some way, shape, or form versus, you can do your gangster music, but just show a little love, you know what I'm saying? Like just show a little love, at least a little bit. So but yeah, I would say that's the best way I would pitch myself to other people to listen.
Nice. So the thing about it is, I said this, I would say this over and over again. Bring back the love again. Like there's nothing like on bended knee, those type of songs back in the day where people can go to their window and be like, "Girl, take me back, boy, take me back." We don't have them kind of songs anymore. So it's like, it's either the sex, the violence, and sometimes they make these songs and they're not even living the life that they're rapping about. That's the problem I have. They're not authentic with their lyrics. So I love to see artists that actually rap about something that they're either going through or as positive things, because the young generation is looking at the artists that are out there now and they're trying to find somebody to look up to, or they might want to be an artist and they have to have people to look up to. So I should ask this question in the beginning. What is the story behind your stage name?
So my stage name is honestly speaking just my name. But so my first name is Elijah and last name Prester. And what I chose to do was at first it was Eli Prester, but it didn't roll off the tongue right. And I always liked that my favorite artists all just used their name because it was their identity. So therefore, everything that they were putting out was them. Was them. You know, you got James Brown. He's James Brown in and out of his music. Who is he? James Brown. Michael Jackson. You know, it's Michael Jackson. You don't get to sit there and kind of like there's no duality. It's not like I could be like Future and then there's his other name or it's nothing like that. It's simple. It's easy. I'm not Jay Z when your name is Jay Z, but your name is actually Sean Carter. Like and Jay Z. It works depending on what type of artist you want to be. Whether it's when you're outside and you're being the celebrity, you're a completely different person from who you are you know at home kind of thing in your private life. And but I think we got to a point where in music where everybody understands, you know, when you're an artist, and when you're at home and you're personal, you're obviously not exactly the same. And I think people understand it. I just think a lot of people don't care, but it's one of I think we understand that. So for me, I just took half of my first name and used my last name, and the job portion um was more of a joke in the beginning. Um, so Elijah, as anybody who doesn't know, is a biblical name, and Eli, being the first part, but Jah actually means God. So Elijah was a prophet and one of God's like favorite prophets to a certain extent. To very simplify it all. So it was a joke that I said with somebody, and I was like, "Yeah, it's Jah Prester, boom, 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 being funny." And one of my friends was like, "That's kind of hard." I'm like, "What?" And they were like, "Jah Prester, like before you was writing Eli," and it was like, "All right, but like Jah, like just Jah." And then at some point, I was like, "You know what? Then when I get signed, I want my first album to be called The Book of Jah." So it's the book of God, but it's not really God. It's the book of Jah being me. It's my book. It's my collection. It's my audio book that sits there, and describes whatever story that I wanted to tell whenever it, get to that point. So it was just something that was more creative.
I like that book of Jah. Whew. Yes, you need to do that. You need to do that. We're down to our last question. What would you, what would your younger self say to you right now?
That's funny because I actually thought about this a couple days ago. Because me and my friends, we was chilling and we was talking, and we were just like, "Yo, what would you have said to yourself like a couple years back when we first met each other in college?" And I was just like, "Yo, boom, boom," and I was like, "Damn, what would I have told my younger self? Like the fact that we even made it this far." It was, I think younger me would be surprised because the way that I grew up, technically I probably wouldn't even be alive. So younger me is like, "Oh shit, we're still here," and it's like, yeah. And then it's as a kid, I used to have like I wanted to be Michael Jackson. I wanted to be Michael Jackson so bad. When he died, it was like it gave me more of like that feeling where like I can't make a song with Michael Jackson now. All right, so that means I just have to be Michael Jackson. And me being a fan of Chris Brown, I was like, Chris Brown, Ushers are the closest thing that I have to Michael Jackson of my, for me growing up. So I was like, all right, cool. Those are the people I have to beat. And, for me to be able to even just record a song, whether it was good, bad, horrible, it just would have been like, oh snap, we left the school stage. We walked into a real, studio for like, even if it was 5 minutes, oh snap, we be singing in the street, or oh, where she like us? She like our voice for real? Like she really like our voice? Like yeah, she do, bro. Like not gonna lie, when you get older, you they gonna love you. It's one of those things where it's something that I would have never believed as a kid. So I think younger me would be shocked, and it'd be one of those things where it's just like it'd be one of those pinch me moments, and I'd be like, pinch, this is real, you know.
Nice. I love it. So this is the time where you shine, shine, shine. I call this the BTS 30 seconds of fame. I'm gonna do your countdown. And when the countdown is over, you're gonna be on the stage, shine and let everybody know where to find your music, how to follow your journey, and what's next for you. And if you would like to give a little insight to the young generation that's trying to be an artist, get them a little bit of advice of where to start and how to start. So after the countdown, it's on you.
It's too bad cause you don't pick me up. You won't answer my call. Guess it wasn't real after all. You've been in and out my mind. I can't stop running through my mind. I can't stop, you're still racing through my mind. Girl, you're gonna kill the vibe. She don't know, no.
It's Jah Prester. You could find me on all platforms. You know, all my music is on all platforms. You can follow me on Instagram at Jah Prester official _ and you know X or Twitter, whichever one you used to use. At Jah Prester. And to anybody trying to become, you know, an artist in the music industry, I would say just be you. You know, do your thing. Don't try to be, you know, like your favorite artist. Don't try to be like that person next door who's, you know, getting lit right now. Just do your thing. When you do your thing is when you become more successful because you're the only one who knows how to do your way the best way. You can't have somebody else do better than you. You know, and that's about it. Appreciate y'all. Thank you guys for having me and enjoy.
He said that's about it.
That's that.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest. I appreciate you. I am excited about highlighting your music so other people can hear, because when you come across my platform as artists, I always highlight your music in some type of way. So I am excited for you and I wish you the best. And I hope we stay locked in so I can see what's next for you on this journey.
Of course, of course.
Absolutely. And thank you so much to everybody else out there that's watching this amazing episode. He has so much inspiration, y'all. So much. And he's built with a lot of wisdom. I've never saw an artist with so much wisdom. And not only that, he has a unique sound on top of it. The music that we used to hear back in the day to fall in love, he's doing it. So y'all got to stay tuned because I will be playing his music so you can see exactly who he is. So, as I always say, you matter, your life matters, and whatever you're trying to do in your life, you can do it, but it starts with you. You got to believe that you can first do it. And the hustle don't stop. When you want to do something in your life, you got to hit the ground running and you can't stop. You got to keep going until you can reach where you want to be. And even then, you still got to keep going. So until next time, continue to break the silence. Later.
I've been missing you lately. It's too bad cause you don't pick me up. You won't answer my calls. Guess it wasn't real after all. You've been in and out my mind. I can't stop running through my mind. I can't stop, you're still racing through my mind. Girl, you're gonna kill the vibe. She don't know, no, how much you mean to me. If she knew, she would end up leaving me. But I love her too.